Hello everybody and welcome back to the STEAM train. This is geared for kids in K to second grade, but if you're a little older or a little younger, you can see what you can do and follow along. My name is Mr. Dayton and I'm with New Minds, and today we're going to learn a little bit about constellations. If you've ever been outside in the daytime or the nighttime, you might see two things. In the daytime, you might see all sorts of shapes of clouds, all sorts of different things in the sky. You might come up with names or stories for them. You might say, hey, that cloud looks like a strawberry. That cloud looks like a bear. That cloud looks like a dog. And you're going to see all sorts of different shapes. People have done the same thing with constellations for a really long time. I'm going to show you some cool ones. We're going to make our own, and then we're going to make up stories to go with our constellations. So it should be a pretty fun day. You guys have probably all heard of this constellation before, but it's the Big Dipper. All you'll see is a bunch of dots at first, but what people like to do to help people understand constellations is they like to draw lines connecting them. So this is the Big Dipper. This is what it looks like in the sky. You might not recognize it with all the stars, but if we connect the dots like a big puzzle, so I'm going to draw some lines down. I'm going to draw some across, draw them all the way up, and connect them. That's what turns this group of stars into a constellation. It's a little hard to see, so I'll bring it closer. But this is going to be our constellation. It looks like a big ladle, looks like a big cup. But people have to come up with stories of why these are there. The real name for the Big Dipper is actually the Ursa Major, because people used to think it looked like a big bear. I'm not perfect at drawing, but I'm going to try my best. I'm going to draw how people thought it was a bear. He's got a really long tail. He's got an eye. And this is what people think the Big Dipper was like. They thought it was a big bear in the sky, and they came up with all sorts of stories to go with it. Now, the Big Dipper isn't the only one in the sky. There's all sorts of them. For example, we have Orion. What do you think this one could be? Could it be a starfish? Could it maybe be someone doing jumping jacks? What it actually is it's a great hunter, was the story that they based it off of. I'm going to connect the dots so you can see them a little better. And then we're going to go into one more constellation, and we're going to get to make our own. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the lines so we can see Mr. Orion start to appear. Constellations can be anything. A lot of it uses your imagination. You can take any sort of dots in the sky and start to make up your own and make up your own story for them. People just saw all these, are like, that kind of looks like a person. So we're going to call this one Orion. They have a whole story that goes with him that you might learn later in history class or in English class. But it's a pretty cool story if you do get to read it in the future. The last one, what do you think this one could be? It almost kind of looks like a dipper, but it's got these two extra dots on the sides. I'm covering one. Whoops. And it could be all sorts of different things. Maybe if you turn it upside down, it looks like something different. Maybe it looks like a clothes hanger that you'd hang clothes off of, and it kind of goes off to the sides. But people actually say that this is a lion. This is the Leo Constellation. So when you connect all of the stars, they say that this is his front leg, this is his tail, he's kind of sitting down, and that this is his head. So this is what they call the Leo Constellation. I'm going to draw a little lion so you can see it a little bit better, and then we're going to get to make our very own, and we're going to make our own stories. It's going to be really cool. So I'm going to draw his eyes, I'm going to draw his lion's mane, I'm going to draw him with his teeth, I'm going to draw his legs sitting down, and his tail, last but not least. So all I had was a group of dots. I drew some lines between them. And now all of a sudden, I have an animal. And then this animal's going to have a story. So we're going to go ahead and put these away. And we're going to get some supplies out so we can make our very own constellations. You don't need very much. You're going to need something to be your night sky. It could be any color pieces of paper. I'm going to use a black purpley one. I can't really tell what color this is. It's kind of a little bit of both, but it's going to be my night sky. I'm going to have some white paper. You don't need to have a lot. You can just have a little bit for this. And this is going to be what my stars are going to be made out of. And I need something white to draw with. It could be a crayon, it could be a colored pencil, which is what I'm going to use. If you have a white marker, that'd be super cool. You can use whiteout, all sorts of different things. Just make sure if you're going to use something special, ask your parents' permission first. And then I'm going to need some scissors and a glue stick. If you want to make one with your siblings and you want to make them a little smaller, you can always fold it and cut it in half, so then you'll have a smaller sky to work with. I'm actually going to cut mine in half so I don't make mine super big. So if you want to cut it nice and even, just fold it down the middle, and then you can cut on this line right here. Be very careful with scissors. You can have your very own sky to work with. If you go out at nighttime, you might not see all of the stars perfectly. That's because there's something called light pollution. When there's a lot of lights in an area, it's going to kind of cover the sky, and it's going to be harder to see further. That's why you can't see the stars in the daytime. They're usually covered up by the sun's light, so it's hard to see them. But all stars are little balls of light really, really far away. And if you go into an area that's far away from the city, you'll be able to see them really well. But you should have your night sky, and we're going to go ahead and make some stars. They could be any shape you'd like. I'll slow down a little bit. I'll give you a minute to get supplies. If you're watching it back after the live video, feel free to pause it anytime and get supplies. I will wait right here. I'll give everyone a moment while you can grab some supplies. I'm actually going to grab art paper next. This step, you can do it really fast or you can do it really slow. If you have a hole puncher that punches one hole, that'd be a really good tool to make stars, because you can punch one hole at a time and then take the little circle dots that come out with the paper, and you have really nice circle stars. I don't have that, so I'm going to go ahead and use my white paper. The easy way to make some really nice and small stars is cut one little strip of paper, that's nice and thin, just so I have one little strip of paper and I don't have to waste the whole page. I can use it for something else like we might do later. And then I can cut it up into little stars. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to cut it into little squares until I have 10, 11, 12 squares, and you can count them with me. So I have 1, I have 2, I have 3, I have 4, I'm going to have 5, oops, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I'm going to use 10 for mine, but you can use as little or as many as you want. Taurus, the ram, is a constellation that's made out of only 3 stars, and they connect like a little L. So you can have a very complicated one or a very simple one. They don't all have to be the same size, and they definitely don't have to be perfect. When you look at stars in the night sky, they're actually all at different distances away. The light takes different time to travel, so some stars are closer than others. The cool thing is some of that light is actually really, really old because they're so far away. It takes so long to get to us, maybe even 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, that we can still see the star even if it's not there anymore. If a star has turned into a supernova or it's turned into a black hole or something along those lines, we wouldn't know for a really long time because the light would still be coming to us from far away. But you should have all of your little stars. Mine are going to be in my hand, so don't drop them all over the place. And I'm going to have my black paper. Think about what you want your constellation to be and start to glue them on the page. I'm going to make mine a whale, so I'm going to make kind of a whale shape. If you want to make sure, you can draw dots with your colored pencil or crayon to see where you want to put it first, and you could have your parents help you out with this so you know where to glue it. It's a little hard to see mine on the camera, but you can see I put dots, and I'm going to turn mine into a whale. So I'm going to take my glue stick, rub my paper on my glue, and stick it right on my dots. And I'm going to start to have a constellation. What kind of things are you guys going to make? You don't have to make a whale like me. You can make yours whatever you want it to be. You can make yours a sunflower. You can make yours a person. You can make yours you. It can be whatever you want. And depending on what it is, we're going to do something cool in the next step. Take your time. Glue yours on. If you ever fall behind, that's okay. These videos will go up right after we finish recording them. So if you need to watch something back again, or do you just want to do the activity a second time, you can go back and watch it, and we'll have all of our videos and activities listed on the same Facebook page. So I'm going to almost finish gluing my stars. I ended up using 9 instead of 10. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. But this is the start of my constellation. It could be a person standing up if I turn it this way. It could be a pair of scissors. It almost looks like a pair of scissors if I turn it this way. Your constellation can look different to different people. But this is yours, so we're going to go ahead and connect the lines how we want it to look. So I'm going to take my colored pencil, and I'm going to draw nice lines connecting all of my stars like a big connect the dots. Just so when I show my friends or I show my family, they can see what my constellation is supposed to look like. Almost finished. Perfect. So now I have my whale constellation. Oh, I forgot to connect this piece. I'm going to go back and fix that. And here I have it. I'm going to get a little fancy. I'm going to draw an eye and a mouth on it, just so he looks a little more friendly. He looks kind of blank right now. So I'm going to add some extra details if I want to, and that's okay. People add details just like to the original constellations all the time. It doesn't look like a lion yet until you add all the extra things, so I'm going to do that to make my whale look like a whale. I'm going to give him a fin. I'm going to give him a big old eye. And I'm going to give him a happy little mouth. And I'm going to draw a little blowhole. So now I have my whale. When you have your constellation, don't put it away yet. We're going to use this for our next step. And this is the really cool part. Depending on how old or young you are, you can do different things, but we're all going to find a way to tell a story about our constellation. Just like the Big Dipper, it was a bear. Orion was a hunter. All of our constellations have a story that goes with them. Why are they in the sky? I'm going to tell you guys 3 different ways you can tell a story, and then you can practice by doing all sorts of different things. For example, if I want to tell my story and I want to make a play, almost like a puppet show, I can get some actors. I'm going to have a whale, because that's my constellation, and a cow for my actors for my play. I can do this as a puppet show for my family. I could practice it and then make it look really good. But I'm going to do an example of what your show could be like. Let me move my camera down a little bit. So you're probably wondering how the whale constellation got into the sky. Well, once upon a time, there were 2 best friends, a cow and a whale. The whale lived in the ocean and the cow lived on the land. This cow was really good at jumping. In fact, he jumped over the moon at one point, and he jumped so high. And he challenged the whale. He's like, you know what, whale? I don't think you can jump as high as me. You can't see what's in my left hand? I'll move a little bit this way. So this cow thought, I'm going to challenge this whale to see how high he can jump. So the whale one day jumped out of the water, and he jumped pretty high. He almost got as high as the moon. And then he came back down. And the cow said, you're not quite there yet. I think you can jump a little higher. So the whale kept practicing jumping every single day and every single night. This whale would jump and jump and jump until he finally felt like he was ready. He's like, you know what, cow? I have an answer for your challenge. I'm going to jump so high, I'm going to jump into space. And the cow didn't believe him. So the cow watched and got ready as the whale was going to jump high. And he got ready, and he got ready, and he jumped so high that he didn't come back down. And some people say that if you look up in the sky, you can still see the whale up there with all of the stars. So that's my story of how my constellation got into the sky. But yours can be whatever you want. It can be a silly story. It can be a funny story. Maybe it's somebody who made a pizza and they didn't like it, so they threw it all the way into space. Your story can be whatever you want. But that's not the only way you can tell it. If you're good at writing and you want to practice, you can try writing your story down on paper and sharing it like a little book. Or if you're really good at drawing and not so good at puppet show, you can make a comic book about your story. So I'm going to show you a really cool way to make a comic book. The first thing is you're going to take a piece of paper that's going to be your comic book, and you're going to draw some lines to break it up into panels. I'm going to want 6 parts to my story, so I'm going to break it up into 6 squares. I want to think about how my story is going to go. The start of the story, there's a cow and a whale, and at the end of the story, the whale jumps into the sky. So I want to think of what I want to fill it up with. I might say the cow and the whale are here, the cow jumps over the moon, the whale tries to jump, the whale practices, the whale gets ready, and then the whale jumps into space. So then I'm going to draw my own pictures and tell my story so my friends can see it. It might show up backwards for you guys, but I'll kind of find a way to turn it around so you can see it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my cow. I don't have to be perfect at drawing, but as long as I have my story. This is my cow. He's kind of small, and it is going to show up backwards, so I can flip it around. You can see it through the back. So this is going to be my cow. And I'm going to draw him on the land. I'm going to draw some water. And I'm going to draw my friend the whale. So this is the first part of my own comic book. You don't have to do this. You can do this with a puppet show, especially if you're good with voices. I can do a really good frog voice, but you can do voices in your puppet show and tell a story a different way. It's up to you, and it's your activity. You can do it whichever way you like. So now you can draw the moon and the cow going all the way over the moon. So here's my cow jumping all the way over the moon. The next part of my story, the whale tries to jump as high as he can. So I drew him. He's a happy little whale. He's jumping out of the water. I'll do the frog voice after my story. Then I'm going to have the whale practicing every night. You don't have to be perfect at drawing. It's your story. Every story has been drawn different all the time. So here's him practicing over and over. Oh, sorry, let me turn it so you can see it. Now he's practicing. So we have the first part of our story. The cow and the whale, they're friends. The cow jumps over the moon. The whale tries to do the same thing. Now he's practicing. Now I'm going to draw him ready to show off his awesome skills. Now he is ready to show his friend everything he practiced. Now I need to draw him jumping into the stars. So I'm going to draw some stars. And I'm going to draw my whale in the sky. And here he is up there with the stars. So you can draw your story in more than one way, and you can make it in all sorts of different ways. Maybe you want to use Lego men. You could put them on really long sticks so you can have them be your puppets. You could put things in their hands, they can have their own props. The story is up to you, and it's going to be after your constellation. I'll now do the frog voice just for fun. Oh, Kermit the Frog here. Welcome to the Muppet Show. Yay! So you can do voices for your puppets if you want to, but I hope you guys enjoyed the STEAM train today. We'll be back with a 3 to 5 lesson at New Minds at 3 p.m. So I hope you guys enjoy and have fun with your lesson. Show us what you made and post a picture of it. Thank you guys.